Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm just sat in my room and I happen to be holding a whole bunch of books, so let's talk about them, why don't we? Okay, so as you can tell from the title, I today will be talking about a variety of different works by Agatha Christie, mainly this little chap here, which is At Bertram's Hotel. Before I begin talking about all of her books, I'd like to talk about my journey when it comes to reading Agatha Christie's works. So when I was younger, I tried reading I think The Halloween Party, and I couldn't get into it. It was just like, my 13-year-old self was like, this is so boring. Not that I told anyone, because I'm a massive Anglophile and it would be a massive point of shame if I ever admitted that I couldn't handle Agatha Christie books, so I told everyone that I loved them. However, the real Agatha Christie Shadi journey begins when we got Foxtel. That was not correct grammar. But anyway, we got Foxtel and it came with this lovely channel called 13th Street, and it sort of fostered my mum and I's absolute obsession with murder mysteries, because they just have them playing all the time. And one of the series that we got into was the Agatha Christie's Poirot and Miss Marple, which I love, especially Miss Marple. I just love the whole era that they lived in, the 1920s to the 1950s, and the way people spoke and the way they dressed. And obviously, being a woman of colour in the 1930s to 1950s, I would have had a terrible time. But I am in love with that era, and I'm in love with stories that are set in that era. So my very first Agatha Christie book was They Came to Baghdad. Now, I was 18, I think, when I started reading this. It was sometime after we'd gotten Foxtel, so I was very into Agatha Christie and all of her works on screen. And I was in Sri Lanka at the time, and I was on holiday, and I was just having a bit of a not that great time, because I primarily speak in English. There was a communication barrier, and I just felt very alienated and lost, a bit like Alice in Wonderland. And when I am alienated and confused, I read. So I went into the local bookshop and picked this up. Now this is hands down my favourite book of all time. That might have something to do with the fact that it came to me when I was in need, but also it's just really fun to read. So it's really well written and the characters are believable and enjoyable to read about. So basically, They Came to Baghdad is the story of Victoria Jones, who is a young woman who isn't happy with her current living situation. She doesn't really have a family, and she hates her job, which she loses by being herself and imitating her boss's wife. And yeah, so she gets fired, ends up in this park and meets a guy. And this guy is pretty hunky and he seems pretty interested in her, but he has to go to Baghdad the next day. Funnily enough, the opportunity to Baghdad, well, it doesn't arise, she sort of makes it happen, with the hopes that she'll have an adventure and meet this guy there in Baghdad. So it is kind of a murder mystery, but it's more in the adventure genre. It's basically about political espionage and the tipping of the scales in a variety of different countries, and she plays a key role without realizing it, and when she does these things and adventures happen. And yeah, I definitely recommend this read to all of my friends and to all of you. Give it 5 out of 5 stars. So the next book that I read by Agatha Christie was this little chappy here. It is called Destination Unknown. I don't think it was always called Destination Destination Unknown. It was resold. It was previously published as So Many Steps to Death, and the So Many Steps to Death actually makes sense with what happens in the story, because basically it begins when there's a woman who has lost a child and her marriage has deteriorated, goes to a foreign country to commit suicide but is stopped by a British spy who tells her that if you're gonna die, you may as well be of use to us, because she happens to look like another woman, and this other woman is involved in like this underground crime ring in one way, and a husband is involved in another way. And so basically she impersonates this woman and ends up going to this place as a spy, and she ends up rediscovering, that is to say, her love for life. And yeah, I didn't enjoy this as much as They Came to Baghdad. I felt like it was a bit more difficult to believe, and I didn't like the characters as much, but it was still a fun read, so I would give this a 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, so that brings me to the third book that I read by Agatha Christie, which is The Man in the Brown Suit. Now, this is a really interesting story because it's very, very similar to They Came to Baghdad, except this wasn't written much later. The Man in the Brown Suit was written very early in, not very early, but much earlier in Agatha Christie's career, and you can see the sort of parallels between her choices in life and love and the lead character's choices in her life and love. These two stories are very similar in that they have two characters who don't really have that much of a family and are adventuresses and go looking for trouble. This one I would also rate 4 out of 5, mostly because I don't like her choices so much in this book. If you want to know what I mean by the similarities between Agatha Christie's books and her life, with these two books in particular, I would definitely recommend looking on Wikipedia. I don't want to mention them in this video because I don't want to spoil anything for what happens in the books, but I wholeheartedly recommend reading the both of them. That brings me to the final novel in my Agatha Christie journey, though I will continue to read them, of course, but this is the last one that I read, and that is At Bertram's Hotel. This was a massive letdown. I had been avoiding Miss Marple. This is a Miss Marple mystery. I'd been avoiding them because I have seen a lot of the film and TV adaptations, and I didn't want to ruin them by reading the books because they often change the plot in the screen adaptations, so I didn't want that to confuse me because I really love the plot of the shows. But they also, often books are just better than the screen adaptations, so I just wanted to remember what I watched as being as fantastic and amazing as when I first saw it. So, does that make sense? Probably not. But I know there is a TV adaptation of At Bertram's Hotel. I have not yet seen it, but they are definitely going to do much better than what happened in this book. I am 100% certain of that, because this is a murder mystery, right? Someone should die at least in the first third of the book, but no. Literally, they die around here, which is like, that is crazy. It's probably even further down, and we know exactly who it is in the end. I mean, it is a bit of a surprise, but it's not that much of one. It's not that much of a stretch. And oh, the ending is so unsatisfying and ambiguous, and it makes me angry, and oh, I mean, it's Agatha Christie, so her writing style, once you do get used to it, is quite like easy to read. So I did end up reading the whole thing, but I wish this wasn't the first Miss Marple I picked up. I hope the rest of them aren't like this. I doubt that they are, but I will watch the TV show adaptation because it's just gonna be better than this. Anything would be better than this. I would rate this a 2 out of 5 stars, or maybe a 2.5 because she did write it reasonably well. Just nothing happened in it. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, those are the 4 Agatha Christies that I've read. That's my lovely little collection here. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was mainly me just rambling on about books, but I really enjoyed making it, so give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll probably continue it even if you don't, because I love talking to a camera about books, because books and talking, it's great. So next time I was thinking of maybe making a Neil Gaiman video in a similar style. I hope you enjoyed my first booktube video, and yeah, see you next time. Bye guys!